Hello, everyone. This is Henry Schneider with the Business Performance Podcast, and today I'm talking with Sean Welsh from Biz Done Better, and he's a digital marketing guy trying to help car dealerships come into the 21st century with using digital and social media. So, Sean, welcome.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Okay, so to begin with, for most everybody probably do not know you, even though you've got a video presence on LinkedIn. So just explain a bit about what Biz Done Better is, who your customers are, and what types of services you provide.
Perfect. Biz Done Better is first of its kind. It was born 2013. It's a company that's sole focus in life is to help dealers deal with the vendor relationship. We have a singular offer. We are a one-trick pony, but we are the damn best at it. That's why we only have one trick. That trick includes us basically dealing with the entire relationship. So it's called vendor management. So as dealerships vendors are piling up at dealerships, third parties prices and the outgo of money is piling up. They want to understand it. That's where we come in. We don't sell any service. So normally what happens is marketing companies tell dealerships they're doing a great job. Well, that's the marketing company telling you the marketing company is doing a great job. My first question to every dealer, every time I meet them is, so have they ever told you they did a bad job? Ever? And I'm always struck with, well, no. And I'm a big baseball nerd, Henry, like really bad baseball nerd. And so I liken everything back to baseball. Ted Williams hit 400 once, and you're in the Hall of Fame if you do your job right 30% of the time as a hitter. How is it that you can go 100% for 4 months, 12 months, 16 months, and never make a mistake on the marketing side? It's not real. Yeah. And so we started to really dig in, and we started to make vendors account for themselves every month with a list that was good things that happen, bad things that happen. Got to know what areas we want to work on, and that really became the big offer. So everything we do is done by video. Our clients get on-demand libraries from us where they get all their data stored for as long as their clients. We've got clients going back 5 years. They've got a library of videos going back to 2014, and we save them all. We do all of our business through Google Drive and Google in general. Keep costs down. I'm a big stingent cost guy from when I was running dealerships to I'm running my own gigs. So that is what we offer. We offer a monthly service at a fee, basically a subscription fee. And that fee, unlike anyone else in our industry, is priced for life. We will never, ever, 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 ever come to you and ask you for more money to do the same job. So for us, it's about building partnerships. I had a conversation the other day with someone who said, Sean, I'm looking to be your client. I said, well, unfortunately, I'm looking for partners. And he said, I need your help for about 3 months. I'm just not interested in dig-ins like that. I'm interested in long-term healthy relationships that help guide people in the right direction. Our goal, and it's always been this way, is to help dealerships deal with digital marketing so they can go do what they do and sell more cars.
Okay, great. So what's the importance of quality to the dealerships, the quality of the service that you provide?
The quality of it is that because you deal with me. I'll start there. The quality of the service is the fact that this is me and my professional team that I put together, and we have no limits to what we're willing to look at, and you can get a hold of us whenever. There is no opening a ticket. There's no calling a call center. The phone number I give out on my weekly podcast is to my cell phone, and it will never change that way, as much as Mama does not like that, and I understand that. But this is how I decided to run my business. I don't want it to be a one-off. I want it to be a direct message with me. Now, that has its limits on growth, but that's okay with me. I didn't get in this, Henry, no one ever believes this, and I hope that you understand what I mean. I didn't get in this to be a millionaire. I can make plenty of money other places, far more with less headaches. It's not about that. It's not about the money. It's about the job. It's about the journey. And the journey is to leave this business better than I found it in 1998. And I'll be damned if I'm going to give up on that for any reason. And so our service allows us to see the good, the bad, and a lot of the ugly. And so that's where the quality comes in. The dealer knows that I have their best interest in mind and that I'm not influenced by anything else that they do. Drama in the dealership, kickbacks from vendors. That ain't who we are. We simply sit in the middle. We make sure you get what you pay for, and we report back to you when you do or you do not.
Okay. So since you've been trying to improve things, how can you tell you're having an impact? What are you using to measure?
I'm a qualities activities guy. So what I mean there is I'm looking for quality traffic to a website. So I'll utilize Google Analytics to its fullest. I've been using Google Analytics since it came out. I've been a nerd for it when I was in dealerships because I always thought data would help me set myself apart because no one would look at it. No one would take the time, right? So that's always been a big part of the focus. So what we do is we'll be able to come into a store. We'll see the normal traffic baselines. We go back as far as we can. We try to build out a minimum 12-month history on the client. And if dashboards are available with more, we'll take more. And because of where we started, we have data on clients dating back to 2013. So when you're looking at 6 years of stacked data, and that's what I call it, data stacking, you just take the year, put all the datas in columns, and then just read it. And if you know what you're looking for, things will stand out like they were highlighted. And that allows us to identify quality changes in traffic. The one thing that I'll never do to tell you that I've done my job is sell you more cars. As a matter of fact, it's the first thing I tell you when we meet is my service will not help you sell more cars directly. It is not what it is to do. As a matter of fact, there is no vendor, no advertiser that will ever help you sell more cars because selling cars is an internal issue. It's not an external issue. Yeah. You and I talked about it before we came on the air, right? The greasiness of the whole thing. That's got nothing to do with your marketing. That's got to do with who you are. And so frequently I find clients who spend gobs of money to get leads to their dealership just to play old school games. And I have to tell them that's nonsense. Please stop doing this. Please stop doing the games. And if you're not going to stop doing the games, then please stop spending the hundreds of thousands of dollars to waste on opportunities that you just won't actually sell a car to because it doesn't fit your DNA. So that is how I judge winning on my end. And I do it also budgetarily. First thing I do when I meet you is I can take 10% off your bottom line. You won't even miss it. And people say, well, you don't know what I spent. I don't care. I've done this way too many times, across way too many places in this country. I don't care. Do you spend more than $20,000? Yes. I will save you a minimum $2,000 by the time I go to bed tomorrow. And that's my goal. And that's always the goal when we get there. I used to joke about paying for the service. I'll pay for myself. That's a stupid line. I hated hearing it when I was a dealer, so I don't know why I used it as an exterior. So now it's just, I'll save you 10%. And if that interests you, let's go to work. If it doesn't, I understand. You go elsewhere, I'll go elsewhere.
Okay. All right. So you're just looking on the marketing side. You're not looking at the inventory that the car, how long they've been sitting on the lot and the aging.
No, because a lot of that stuff shows itself in the data. So if I start to see in the data set from, let's say, an autotrader.com, when I look at SRP to VDP conversion, I look at lead totals. If those numbers begin to dwindle and the inventory level stays the same, what that means to me, having done this as long as I have, I'm able to jump in and say, hey, guys, what's going on with the inventory? And they'll say to me, ooh, yeah, we haven't priced. Okay, well, that's obvious. Your VDP to SRP conversion sucks. So I can tell that you haven't been pricing right. I call it merchandising. So it's pricing, it's pictures, it's comments. It's all of that in, really together, because that's what people look for online. And that's why companies like Carvana have gotten the legs they have, is because we've been so unwilling to do these sort of things. I mean, geez, 3 years ago, people would still have call for price on the website. No one's going to do that. Yeah. So just stop doing that and put up a price.
Yeah, okay. All right. So what are two of the biggest misconceptions out there when it comes to quality and marketing?
Well, the misconception goes around quantity, if I could, because the people think, okay, so if I sign up for, let's just say I sign up for an email blast, that's going to bring me 5,000 users in a given month, which, by the way, anything that happens that fast outside of a major metro is damned to be false. Just so anyone who does email blast, just so you know, if your numbers are over that high, it's probably false. But let's just assume for a moment it's not. What I'm able to do is I'm able to jump in. I'm able to say, but the quantity, people get excited. Sean, I had 20,000 people to my website. Isn't that great? No, because the 5,000 you brought in with email, based on the data sets we have set up in your Google Analytics, we know they did nothing. They showed up, they spent 7 seconds because they never meant to be here. They accidentally clicked, or they're a robot click because they don't look at a VDP, they don't look at an hours page, they don't make a phone call, they don't make a lead submission. So all they're doing is sort of dragging down the quality score of the dealership. And I know this because I look at conversion percentages. Within Google Analytics, not to get too geeky on you, but inside of Google Analytics are data sets with percentages. So I can say we're up or down 6, 12, 15% on a conversion element against the site average and the channel average. And if that channel comes in below the site, it's okay. If it comes in really below the site, it's a problem source. So quantity is one thing. And the other thing that I think is a real misconception in digital marketing is that it can be perfect in 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
You sign up today, by November 1st, Henry, it better be perfect or I'm going to fire you. Don't bother signing up.
Yeah.
That's just not how data works. It's not how understanding markets work. And it's certainly not how you want your marketing plan really done in a 30-day only snippet. You're looking for something more long-term that plays into, I'm in the Midwest, so seasonality is a big deal for us. What we do in June, we better not be doing in January because there's just not as many people out on the streets. So we really implore historical data. And my dealers, the misconception they have about historical data is that garbage in, garbage out. But I always say it's the same garbage, people. So it's okay. If we assume a 5% variable, a 10% variable, or if everyone would just stop making marketing black and white and accept that it is gray in nature and will never be black and white, then we'll all probably get along a lot better, a lot quicker.
Okay. All right. So when you're looking at all, excuse me. So when you look at the Google Analytics and you see there's no retention of the people on the website, are you doing anything helping them with the websites to engage and make certain people stay there? Or are you just
we are absolutely making those recommendations to the vendors that they pay to do that job for them.
Oh, okay.
And that's the important part about us. We're all about accountability. That's what we used to call ourselves back in the day. The first automotive accountability firm. At the end of the day, tricks are not, words are not. Accountability is what we are built on, and it's what dealerships should be built on. And so that accountability, absolutely, Henry. If I see that the phone's not ringing, I'm going to hop on the website. I'm going to look and see that the CTA or call to action button isn't where it should be. Maybe it's been deleted. Maybe it's been moved. I mean, maybe the OEM decided to get involved and tell you what you're going to do or not do, which is none of his business, but maybe he does. And now things change there. In the data set, I can see that. I'll make recommendations to the people who are responsible for those things to make those updates, make those changes. But me, myself, no, I'm sort of a middleman who keeps his hands clean because it's not my responsibility because you weren't paying me to do that in the first place.
Okay, so you're on the data analytics side then.
Yep, I'm data analytics, and then I can apply it. I can apply the science because I've done the job, right? So I can say the data looks this way because you're probably not following X, Y, Z at a store level. And that, I think, is really a big part of what sets us apart from other people is that I got a team of guys who weren't in the car business but are master's educated. I don't have a college education, but I've been living in the car business since 1998. And when you put all of us together, man, it's pretty awesome. And that's what we experience every month.
Yeah, and what's so interesting with data is that you have to look for those cause and effect relationships. And a lot of people confuse causation with correlation. Just because things correlate doesn't mean there's any meaning to that.
Exactly. And you shouldn't spend your whole life trying to find that. Yeah. It's attribution, Henry. We talk about all the time in the car business, attribution. That's the stupidest word I've ever heard because there are 25 minimum digital touch points on the journey to buying a car. Why do you have to know the one that broke the camel's back, brought it into the dealership? Just make sure you're well diverse within the 25 touch point areas, whether that's digital marketing with third parties, Google paid search, display, social media, whatever. Just have a rounded presence. And then it takes care of itself. It really does. And don't get stuck in old ways. But then again, don't just change to change because that's where you start to get in the correlation causation part. And one of the biggest things we talk about is because the same gentleman, Tom Emmerich, who I talked with about starting my company, he also is someone who I've heard quoted as saying, don't confuse activity with results. And that's what we try not to do that ever. We try to track the activity and simply say it's higher, lower versus a month over month, a year over year, quarter over quarter. But that's where it ends for us because then you've got to dive in and say, do I have more phone ups? Do I have more leads? Do I have more shows? Do I have more solds? That becomes a much larger internal thing that I certainly have opinions on, but it isn't the business model or structure.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, is what you have to watch out for is what I call vanity metrics, the metrics that make you feel good, but really don't give you any insight into what's going on.
Simply like we were just talking about, right? The amount of new users, right. You see the green arrow inside Google Analytics says, oh my God, it's up 470%. And you think to yourself, high five, email vendor, we did it, you and I. Yeah. And again, upon further review, and not even that deep of a review. I mean, we're not even adding secondary dimensions or splicing the data. We're simply just clicking to the right in the goal area and saying, no, this doesn't work for us. But the beauty of data, and when I was in Toronto, I was talking with JP, who's been on your show before.
Yeah.
And JP and I were talking about how data can tell whatever story anyone wants to tell.
Oh yeah.
You can move, slice, but here's what happens with us. We don't have a story to tell. We're just trying to tell you what we see. Or the reality. We're not trying to spin it to protect our asset because we don't have an asset in the game. Mm-hmm. And that's really where the value is. And no one's really been able to kind of come into our niche. We created the niche in 2013. Some people have tried and they're kind of a singular, kind of a one-off, but nobody has the sort of store volume we have because if you want to scale it, you've got to decide that making low six figures is okay with you for the rest of your life and you're not going to be a millionaire. For some reason, people have this like millionaire status stuck in their head where they just, if they're not going to take a job that's going to make a millionaire, why take it? Or why start a business? And I don't get that because I'd rather make a six-figure income and have time to hang out with my wife, my dogs, and live my life than I would trying to make $500,000 a year like I used to and saw my wife 1 hour a week. So you got to really make decisions there.
So what's the biggest challenge that has to be overcome by these dealers that you work with?
Shiny object syndrome. Being just thinking that the next thing they heard about at a 20 group or at a convention, God, I hate conventions. At a convention, they're going to come out and they're going to tell you, hey, this one product, this one thing that we have for you, it's going to change the landscape of your dealership. It's going to make you more profitable. You can sell more cars. Yeah. Then they call me. They're like, Sean, we're signing up. I'm like, none of that's going to work the way you want. And now it's digital retail is a big thing in our area, right? So you want to buy a car online, never leave your house. But ask the majority of dealers you come in contact with if they're willing to give a customer a price over the phone. Mm-hmm. And most of them will say no. And if they're saying no, then how the hell are they going to let a customer make his own deal online? So I just ask people to not get stuck in technology changing your business because frankly, we're over technologized in the car business. We need to return back to handshaking and business eye-to-eye transactions, not so much this.
It's the building of that personal relationship with people. And
always. Yeah. That's how I sold cars. I always listened. I don't know anything about cars, frankly. My buddies always wondered why I was in the car business. They were mechanics. They were gearheads. Sean, you don't even know. What do you know about cars? Nothing. That big white sticker they put on new cars got all the information I need. And I walk up to it and I hold your hand and you tell me you like safety. And I say, look at all them stars. And I say, look at this crash rating. Look at these side airbags. And then I tell you, let's go drive it. And then we move on, right? So to me, I used to work for the Men's Warehouse. That's where I got my start in selling anything. And I was the youngest assistant manager in the history of the company. I worked directly with George Zimmer, the guy you used to see back in the commercials. He guaranteed it, right? The guy's brand was so on point. Now no one knows who the Men's Warehouse is because he's gone. Yeah. But when we worked together, I got so ingrained in product knowledge, like stupid crazy. Like I knew everything about the thread, the cut across everything. I wanted to know everything. And so one time he was in a store and he was listening to me talk to a customer and give him all this stuff. Customer got done and only bought one suit and one shirt one time. It wasn't a big sale. And he comes up to me and he says, Sean, do you know something? I said, what? He said, you talk too much. I said, no, I've heard that. I get that. He goes, no. He goes, you talk too much about things people don't care about. He said, 90% of the people you meet are going to care about 10% of the product knowledge that you have. The other 10% or the other 90 are going to care about 10% of what you know. So just remember that you don't have to give everyone all the details because the majority of people don't want to hear them. They want to be just told that it's good and that they look good in that case and they feel good and then we move forward. Yeah, and from that day forward, it changed how I sold.
Yeah. That's an emotional response on the consumer side.
Yep. And that's what you want it to be. You don't want it to be some response about the thread count. That's not it. It's about look in the mirror, right? And he taught me early on to have the ability to size you up without a tape measure. He told me it would change my life. And I got so good at it, I could do that. You want to talk about rapport. People would come in, they say, I don't know what size I am. You are a 48 long. Follow me, friend. And put it on and it fits. And all of a sudden they're just like, what? Whoa. And that moment, right? That's what it was always about for me. And that was the same way selling cars. You know, you got a family in a car that was their first one or a college graduate, you know, that for them was the most exciting moment. Yeah, I'd already done it 25 times that month. Who cares? To them, it was the first time they'd done it. And that's the uniqueness of sales in general. But more importantly, selling cars, there's only one transaction that's going to be larger in your life for most of us. And so that one, I wanted it to be special. I had birthday cards for the car. I sent cookies. I mean, you got to go out of your way once you sell a car to retain customers, because that's the best form of advertising. If dealers work their database as much as they spend on marketing, they wouldn't have to spend so much on marketing.
Yeah, so it's that constant touching, keep the communication going. The conversation.
Yeah, and not in a salesy way.
Right.
Not in a salesy way. In a, hey, how we doing? How's the car? Do you need an oil change? Can I buy that for you? Can I pay for a service? People, people are always like, Sean, why do you buy my oil change? You come to my dealership, and I'm smart enough to know that if you come to my dealership and I buy your oil change, then the next time you need a car, you're going to remember I bought oil change. And no one else has ever done that for you. And that was always the goal.
Yeah. So, okay. All right. So now, why don't you talk about the success you've had with a client recently and how you helped them overcome the obstacles to succeed?
So I recently signed up with a client in Hawaii. And as I told you in the pre-show, who doesn't want a client in Hawaii, right? It's pretty awesome. And he is a family-owned and operated dealership out there on the Big Island. And he wants to bring his younger son into the business. The younger son went to college, had his own deal out in Seattle for quite some time, and now is sort of considering the family business. And because I love this part of the business, so I love the legacy aspect of the car business. Henry, you're around businesses all the time. Realistically, where else does a legacy exist? Where else do family-owned operators try to pass businesses off to their kids? Does that happen anymore in the real world? Because I feel like I don't see it as much.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, because they're all turning into entrepreneurs and opening their own businesses and not staying with the family.
And then to sell it, right? It feels like it's about getting it, opening it to sell it. Right. And people approach me all the time, Sean, when are you going to sell your business? There's nothing to sell. I don't understand. I don't have a widget. I'm not for sale, so there's not really anything to sell. So anyhow, the dealer approached me at a recent conference we were at, and he's a great guy. Had great energy. And I thought, yeah, man, I'll help you out. And then he said, well, I really need you to help me with my kid. No problem. And the kid is sharp, smart young man, college educated, understands it, young enough to understand social media, right? Cool. So recently we were on a call together, and I was in the background because my job is to be there to handhold when necessary, but let you guide your own way. Sure. But if someone put you in a corner, the pit bull's here, we got you, don't worry about it, we'll take care of it. But I like to empower them. So they do that. And this young man he nailed it. He nailed the call. He asked the right questions. He had the right answers. He took the right approach. So I was excited. I was like, okay, this is really cool. So afterwards, I just, they're in Hawaii. So for me, it's 5 hours. That's really odd for me to have clients that text me at 2 a.m. And for them, they're getting ready to sit down to dinner, right? So you're just like, all right, what do I do? So I just texted him last night, a little bit later on. And I just said, hey, super good call. Proud of you. This is what makes it worth it. And he just came back with a thank you. I couldn't have handled that call like that basically without talking to you or having your guidance or knowing you were there. And that's a win, I know most people expect me to talk about wins being taking someone from X to X or I don't care about all that. You need to take yourself from X to X. That's not what my service provides you. I'm here to provide you with confidence, to make the right decisions, to work through the right problems. And we're problem solvers. That's our business. You can't tell someone that because what does that mean for a business? But that's our favorite part is a client comes to me and says, my problem is I don't know how to integrate my kid. I do. I've integrated plenty of kids. Let's go to work. And you go to work on a plan, a succession plan, and you watch it happen over time and you grow with that dealer. That's what it's about. I told you before that to me, it is about the next generation of the car business because there will be more, folks. The car business is not going away in 5 years. So just get past all that. And remember, the next generation needs to be taken care of because they're still going to be here trying to take care of us when it matters.
Okay. So if you could distill that down, what would you say the moral of that story is?
Moral of the story for me on the win is that when a client had a need that they didn't think anyone else could help them with in a price point that we offered to help at, he didn't believe it. And so the win is convincing you that you did need it and what a win it was because he didn't believe us. He said, there's no way for what you charge, you can do all your videos, all your recommendations, and you can take care of my kid. There's no way. And to me, there's a way. So put a challenge out there, challenge accepted, and then we move forward. So anytime a client challenges you, don't run away.
Mhm.
Take it, run with it, and when you succeed, you'll endear them to you for life. And that's the kind of partnership you're looking for.
Okay, so this brings up an interesting topic here. Have you received challenges like that that are outside of your comfort zone where you really you haven't done it before?
Yeah, all the time. There's even parts of digital marketing that I thought I understood. And then I start listening to someone who's even further down the funnel than I am. And I thought, oh my God, I don't know that fact. How will I go find that fact out? But here's the beautiful thing about it. I've been doing this long enough that I have a resource list a mile long. So the second I feel uncomfortable, I tap resources. And I would implore everyone to do that. The second you feel like you don't know something, talk to resources who do and learn about it. Okay, I'm not a book guy. I'm actually reading the first book of my life. It's a baseball nerd data book, and that's the only reason I'm reading it, because I'm trying to tie many years ago, a book came out called Moneyball, and I took Moneyball's concept, I directly applied it to the car business, and I went out and kind of spread the word. Well, this book that I'm reading is now the next step above Moneyball, and it has to do more with, if Moneyball was about marketing, this book is about player development. And that's what I believe most industry people are lacking, is that you don't need more marketing. You have enough leads. You need to do a better job of selling and closing the leads that you have. And that comes from better player development.
Yes.
So yes, I've been forced with uncomfortable conversations. Recently, I was working with a large organization who had multiple stores. And I knew one girl from one store could help another girl at another store. So I'm a fixer. So I did what I did. I called girl one, told her to call girl two, connected them, and they fixed it. Well, the GM of girl two was very upset that I called to take his girl's time away from her job to help a competing store. And I said, competing store? We are of the same family. And it was, no, we're not. I don't get paid on their bottom line. They don't get paid on mine. So here I was, the outsider, getting stuck in the middle, became very uncomfortable. Initially thought about taking it to ownership and was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to man up and I'm going to move on. I'm going to listen to what he said. I'm going to respect that his is probably, more than likely, it wasn't about what I had done in that moment, right? It was probably about a bunch of moments, micro moments leading up to that. And I just happened to be the icing on that cake and wasn't aware of the previous moments. So, okay, we took it. I became uncomfortable because I thought, well, this is limiting me to do my job, but it was a vacuum. So it really wasn't limiting me to do my job, but I became very uncomfortable with the fact that it may be. And then how would I exist? How would I go about business? And it was more of a one-off than that.
Yeah. So when you're talking about, developing the players, that's what I'm talking about, internal business capabilities, maturing people so they can be better at doing their work, be more effective, not be more efficient, because you can be really efficient at doing bad stuff, but be more effective in how you approach business.
You got to be able to work smarter and not harder, right? That's what my dad always taught me. And so when I look at that, it's not about working smarter. Doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be the most efficient. It means it's going to be the most effective. Now, efficiency certainly plays into our model because we're a small company. But if we just started putting out a bunch of videos that sucked, then it wouldn't matter. So efficiency takes a back seat to the front end of quality and making sure that everyone understands who's on what's team. And the book that I'm referencing is called The MVP Machine. And they break down these ideas that, look, if a pitcher knows how to throw a ball, I can show him how to throw every pitch under the umbrella, because I just have to take time, and they use data and cameras and high speed everything. And so back in the day, I used to record salespeople just one time with a small little handheld camera from my office while they were with their first customer that I could see them with. And one time I had a salesperson come in my office and watch a video, and he was so appalled at his exterior behavior that he was unaware of. I won't do it because we're on a classy show, but he had his feet up on the desk. Didn't realize it. Just thought he was being so, customer friendly and casual and cool. And it was like, you put your feet on the desk one more time, and it'll be the last time you put your feet on the desk. And he didn't know it. He didn't realize it. He didn't realize that his hand was always over here, sort of looking like he was typing because it was over by his computer. And there were all these things that he could see from the visual side of it. And I love that. Nissan North America came into one of my stores and brought dudes from the factory who understand efficiency to a T, right? You know this in your business background. Those dudes are nuts, right? The efficiency experts they bring in. And so they sat there in the dealership and they clubbed every deal and how long it took desk, how many times they went to the desk, how many times the desk went outside, how many times people walked back and forth. And the data was disgusting. It was just like, I can't believe we're letting this happen. 120 minutes to get the customer a price? What are we doing? Who has 2 hours? This was in 2009. So, I mean, we're a decade past that. People have even less time than they did then. And it's still the same practices. And people are always, in my industry especially, people are always fearful of people who are not from your industry. If you haven't sold a car, your opinion is not valid. And I've never subscribed to that. I'm a card-carrying member of the stupid car guy club. It's dumb. It doesn't do, all it does is perpetuate old ideas. I'm a nonconformist. That's how we're going to move forward, is by breaking down walls. Innovation. I just talked to this about a young man in Toronto who runs a company out there. And I felt like he was using the word innovation to tie to technology. I really do not like that, because innovation is challenging the norm. That has nothing to do with technology. You can innovate, and I'm an innovator. I've never once made a product in my life. I just question the norms of my industry, and I bang the door down until I get what I want. And that's what I believe more people can be doing, is looking to innovate from an actual human element standpoint, not create the next Facebook. That's not what I mean. I mean, create a customer experience that is so far above and beyond anything they've ever seen that piece of innovation will stick with them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, innovation is in the approach. It doesn't have to be a tool. And that's, from talking with JP and Leonard, it sounds like, the car dealers don't listen to somebody unless you've got some street cred where you've actually got experience in there. And they're missing out on all of the brain power and brain trust that everybody else who knows how to improve flow, and service excellence, and all that stuff.
Yeah, and it's part of something. Look, I fell into it when I was in the dealerships, because it's the forest through the trees analogy. You don't want somebody from the outside coming in and telling you how to do your job. No one does. Okay, fine. So now I don't approach it that way. Now I simply listen to other people's ideas. I bring them to my clients. My clients say, how does that really work for me? How is that going to help me? And then we break it down in terms that make sense to them. The problem with people coming in from outside is that they don't understand that car dealers, because of the legacy, because of the money invested, they don't take kindly to outside criticism. Right. So in where a lot of people fall down who aren't in our industry is in their approach. Is they watch me talk to a client and they think they can talk to them the same way. They can't. That client's only listening to me talk to him that way because he knows I've got 20 years of doing this and have been an owner, have been in the dealerships, so he doesn't question me with that regard. That's really what it's about. So now I have people who run big companies come through me and bring me their ideas to improve dealerships. And then I walk into the stores that I think that fits with, and I try to help. And we try to work from there. We try to be a filter so that everyone can kind of understand each other a little bit better, because I speak nerd and I speak dealer. And I like to put those two together and make sure everyone gets out.
Yeah, and what you're addressing too is that you end up telling somebody their baby's ugly, and that really gets them upset. You have to be able to do that in a nice way so they can listen to you.
It's got to be a relatable way. It's got to be a way that you've either been there or seen it done. And where people outside the business don't do a good job is they try to relate it to inside the industry. But what you don't understand is you're from outside the industry. So bring whatever success you had from outside the industry and talk about how it impacted outside of the industry and how that translates or potentially translates to what we do. But don't simply call out an activity from a dealership and try to fix it from an internal sales process because you know nothing about it. I'll tell you this. I was at a Nissan meeting one time with a bunch of executives. They were all walking around talking crazy about how to sell cars. So I had to ask, how many of you sold a car? None of them raised their hand. Well, guys, no one's going to listen to you if you've never done this. I was never allowed back in another meeting again. That's weirdly enough, but that's what it's about. That was questioning the norm, right? That was being a nonconformist or being an innovator, and simply just saying a simple question of, have you done the job? No, then I wouldn't suggest giving people a sales manual on how to do it.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about your backstory a little bit here. What was the defining moment in your life that led you to form this business and this digital marketing consulting?
I have to thank aforementioned Tom Emmerich, Madison, Wisconsin, owner of Emmerich Automotive. Unbelievable human being, truly an unbelievable human being for all he does for his community. He took me aside and gave me his time when I approached him about buying dealerships, which has been my goal since I was a young man. And he, in so many words, told me that I do have plenty of money, but not enough to do what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And that was a bit of a hurt, you know. And I thought, okay, well then now what, sort of thing. And he said, well, now what is I want you to help me understand digital marketing and some process issues I'm having at my dealership. I have 15 or more, but I'm only going to give you 3. I'm going to guarantee you 90 days at $3,000. Do you want to take a chance? So I had to call somebody else, right? I had to call my business partner. I had to ask him because I needed him to come along for the ride because it wasn't going to be him. Had to ask my wife, make sure I could financially do this. It turned out my business partner needed the lion's share of that $3,000, which I understood. So we were in a spot, you know. I went 6 months of making money I made when I was a paper boy. So it was different. It was something different. But the defining moment is when Tom looked at me and he said to me, Sean, why buy 2 stores when you can affect hundreds of stores? And I thought, yeah, man, let's do it. And then we thought we would be something different than we are today, which I think is natural if you're paying attention to your business. We thought we'd be the next biggest consulting firm. Reality is I would never hire people. I would never spend the money. And frankly, I wouldn't spend the time. So that idea kind of flew out the window. We figured out this really cool digital delivery system and are able to keep costs extremely low for clients on both what they pay us and what we pay out to our vendors to keep our systems running. And that relationship seems to have worked. And I try to get out to see them once a year, all my clients, shake a hand, you know, high five. But the defining moment for the actual company itself was certainly in that meeting with Tom Emmerich. And I thank him. I thank him every time I see him, and he thanks me every time he sees me for the work we've done for his group and the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars we've saved him over the last 6 years.
So the digital industry is moving so rapidly. How are you staying on top of things?
Staying on top of things because of my position in the industry allows me to see all incoming vendors. So what we have set up with our clients is we give all of our clients a stack of business cards. We call them vendor management cards. And as a second a vendor comes in to sell you something, you simply reach across the desk, hand them the card, and shoo them out of your dealership. They reach out to me. Then I sit through a demo. I sit through ungodly amounts of demos, Henry, the majority of which are absolutely dreadful. They are terrible. Whether it's a terrible presentation, whether it's a terrible connection, whatever it is, whether someone's in a freaking airport doing a presentation, folks, don't do that. Just reschedule it. It's you do yourself a disservice if you're in an airport and I can't hear you. But that's how we stay ahead of it, is because we positioned ourselves in the industry in such a way that in order to get into stores, now we have stores from Connecticut to California. So we've got a pretty nice surface area to cover. And obviously we're a little bit heavier here in the Midwest. That's where we're from. But we're coastal. So you see new ideas come from east to west. The Midwest, typically new ideas don't come from here. They end up here. Okay. And they end up here from either coast. And sometimes from the east doesn't make it all the way to the west, etc. I mean that in a I know the internet exists way, but the fact of the matter is dealerships don't really get on board until it sort of swells. So that is really what we do to stay ahead. And up until recently, we were attending conferences. But we've decided that is just an outdated lost cause. So the best way for us to keep doing what we're doing is to continue to – I'm very active on LinkedIn. So there's a lot of people who follow me there who are technologists who will shoot new ideas by me. I've been brought in a bunch of incubation companies as well recently. My friend Bill Schomburg and his brother John, unbelievable people, have a new product that I was consulting on with them in the beginning very lightly, things of that nature. That's how we're getting pulled in, because we've solidified ourselves as a vendor dealer expert. And so now vendors are asking us how to sell to dealers. And so that's also been another way to see products before they hit market.
Okay. So how long have you been doing these little weekly videos that you've been posting?
The videos that I have, so there's 2 sets of them. You have your Friday video, which is your 30 seconds. Then you have your Monday video, which is my podcast that I put on LinkedIn. We just hit episode 102. So we are coming up on just about 2 years. We've never missed a Monday. I call myself the Brett Favre of podcasting. I've never missed a Monday. I've always delivered on a Monday, regardless of what's happened. And that's our goal. We always believed that consistency would be the key to our social media, because I was never going to show you what I had for dinner or that I'm on an airplane getting ready to fly somewhere. I mean, I do a little bit here and there just to have fun, but I was never going to be the consistent on-camera guy. It was hard enough to get me to this point. The first 50 episodes of my podcast are audio only, because I was just, for various reasons, but mainly was I just didn't want to be on camera. I didn't really care for it. I tried to, as much as I love being the guy who's willing to take the beating for people, I don't love it being just, oh, Sean, it's your company, because it's not. This company is shared with the people who work in it, and they work their asses off to make sure this company exists. I get on the front man of it, but I do my best to sort of push back on that a little bit.
Okay. All right. So that's cool. So, yeah, I mean, like you said recently, the video blogging or making videos is the state of the art now. And that's where, everything's starting to explode. And pretty soon we'll get inundated with videos. So what's next?
What's next on video is honestly, to me, I think what's going to happen is I think we're going to have to work on, we're going to have to probably return back a little bit, kind of digress back out of that model a little bit and get better into an audio type discussion, because I find that clients are willing to listen to audio much longer than they're willing to watch video. It's very odd. I think they can do it because they don't have to be focused as directly, right? So our podcast numbers on audio only do better than anything we do on the video side of the launch. And that tells me something. It tells me that customers, are over inundated. Look at your feed next time, Henry. Just do one time on LinkedIn. Take a screenshot and just count the number of videos and play buttons that are on your screen. And then look at the handwritten, right? As much as I don't read books, I only read posts. I rarely watch full videos. It's not who I am. I've never even watched an episode of my own show. So it's not who I am. I'm more of a written, but more importantly, I'm an audio guy. I was raised on sports radio, so everything I learned about podcasting I learned from sports radio, and that's audio only for the most part until recently. But I think it's getting back to an audio-based human discussion. Video helps with that, but in our world there are clients who are very uncomfortable with. People think you can sell a card this way, the way that you and I are interacting now. Oh, really? Clients are very uncomfortable with how they are on camera, what's the chin look like, what's in the background, what's the dealer going to see of my home. So that's a barrier that we're sort of pushing on people, I would say unnecessarily. Get your fingers out, folks. Get texting, because that's really where the comfort level is. So to me, I think there's going to be something more audio-based and less video-based. We'll be able to. You're seeing it now with texting, where you can send the audio text. And I think that's. I don't know if it's the next thing. I try not to worry about the next thing. As I told you before, I'm not a shiny object guy. I try not to get sucked in, because I think we have. I'm sure we've all said this, but I think we have enough of all of it right now that we just need to figure out how to get back to connecting with one another. What I'd like is a way to just get rid of my phone and have it just so I don't actually have to look at it every 10 minutes.
Yeah, and things are just going to get compounded here as they deploy 5G networks across the nation. The multiplier in data from 3 to 4 was like 10, but going from 4 to 5 was like 100. So
it's pretty insane. I have a friend of mine who works basically for Samsung, and he was testing some stuff in Kansas City with Google on the 5G network, and he was like, Sean, I had business grade internet in the middle of a street. And I thought to myself, I don't want to hear that. I don't need my phone to be faster. What I need you to ensure is that I stop dropping calls. That's what frustrates me the most about my phone. I don't need to be able to do more on it. Just stop losing calls. Yeah. That's it. We've been doing how long we had cell phones, yet we still drop calls on a regular basis. That's what frustrates me. Stop making them faster, stop making them smarter, and start making sure they don't drop.
Yeah. Well, like yesterday, I was trying to call my security guys from my website, and I'd go through the whole telephone tree. It says you're customer number 2, number 1. Then it rings and the call drops. And you got to go back and get inside that. I don't know, like 5 or 6 times. I finally got through. It's just very frustrating.
It's extremely frustrating, and I had the same thing happen to me recently on my trip to Toronto. Delta lost my bags. Wow. And so I was talking to them, and it seemed like every time, because I was in roaming international on my phone, every time I was about to get a piece of information or move forward, call drop. Oh. And I was just finally, I went to the hotel. I'm like, do you have a landline? This is an 800 number. Like, can I just sit here, please? And she said, well, if you're going to be as loud as you were outside, no, you can't sit here. And I said, no, I'm over that now. I already yelled at this poor woman. I apologized to her because I realized it wasn't her fault, but it was a human reaction.
Yeah. Okay, so what type of competition do you have in your space? Are you unique, or are there other companies that do the same thing?
I'm going to go with unique. I think there are a few people who fancy themselves as part of what we do. Most of them are taking money from vendors, so you really can't do what we do, or they work for marketing companies, where marketing companies will like try and do a spin-off of ours, where it's like so-and-so marketing company will also offer you digital analysis. It's like, how does the gatekeeper also run the ads? Like, how's that supposed to work? So no, I would say that we look, man, that's why we go to these shows. We go because we're like, all right, is this, because in things I've read over the years, as far as in business magazines, competition validates your space, right? So I've looked for it. It's come up. There have been a few people who were in market and then they're gone. And so that's what we expect, because we realized that it's about scalability. And if people are going to get into business, they're going to have to understand our delivery, which our delivery isn't crazy complicated, but it's customized to what we've done, and we designed it that way. It's not like we use proprietary technology. Like I said, there's nothing to sell here. Just a bunch of people putting their heads together, letting common sense prevail, and then making something deliverable to a client. So I think people overthink it. But I think that a few people would probably, I wouldn't give these names publicity on your wonderful show, but there are people who would probably give you names that would think they're in our boat. But I don't view them as competition. I view them as people who are trying to share the space with us.
Okay, so we're rapidly running out of time here. I want to be respectful of your time. So, Sean, how can people get in touch with you to learn more about you and Biz Done Better?
Well, you can do that a couple of different ways. You can head over to the YouTube channel, Biz Done Better YouTube channel. Check out the 5 Minutes with Sean, Maybe 10 podcast. That's a big one for us. We created that podcast so that we could basically weed people out. One of the first things we do with new people who want to know about our service is we send them the first 3 episodes. And we simply say that if you can make it through all 3 episodes, you may be a fit. If you stop halfway through episode 1, we get it. Don't worry about it. We saved everyone a lot of time because I have a very direct approach, and I don't vary from that for any reason, regardless of whom someone may be or how wealthy they may be. For me, the job is the job, and I have to do it the same way. You can find me. I give out my cell phone, 262-278-0157. That's text and call anytime. Tell me you heard about it on this show. I'm happy to talk to you more about it. Email is going to be Sean, SEAN, @carbizdonebetter.com. I'm all over LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Biz Done Better, or on Twitter, I think we are CBiz Done Better. But not a lot of Twitter, more Facebook, LinkedIn for sure from us.
Okay, great. Well, Sean, thank you so much for your time today. This has been a wonderful conversation, very fascinating, and I really appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Henry, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it too. Have a wonderful day.